Jimmy! And we are live here. We're going to be talking about real short box fun. Some good stuff here, guys. So thank you for joining us here. It is Star Wars time, I think, right? Right?
It sure is.
Nothing but Par Wars. Please don't take my Star Wars away.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let me go ahead and start doing a quick little bit introduction here, gentlemen. To my left right here, actually my right, be your left, I guess, is Jarrett, and just below here is Kevin, of course, in the corner over here is Darren, but we all have our labels, so you know that already. I'm going to go ahead and share a few things. Why don't you guys go ahead and talk just briefly about what we're going to be discussing today and why and how this came about, so to speak.
Kevin, why don't you lay it on?
Well, we're going to be discussing the great series, The Mandalorian. We're going to discuss the highlights from the first two seasons, our theories for season 3, and of course our theories for the spin-off shows that were announced, and other things that we think might be coming about. And it's very exciting. You know, I was talking to the fellows offline before we started. I was very angry with the direction of the Star Wars franchise. I mean, I was so pissed off with how the sequel trilogy went that I didn't even bother watching the first season of The Mandalorian. I didn't watch any of these episodes until literally a couple weeks ago because I finally decided to give it a chance. I was told, Kevin, give it a chance, and I did, and I'm glad I did.
And when Kevin said this, my mouth hit the floor because I was like, because Kevin, like, you know, myself, I know is a huge Star Wars fan, and I was like, how the hell have you not seen this yet? And I was also jealous as hell because you got to binge watch 2 seasons back to back. But yeah, I was flabbergasted. I was flabbergasted. And also, people watching who are coming in right now, we are going to be, and we'll probably announce it right before again. If you haven't seen the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian, we will be giving spoilers. So I just want to not be that guy and ruin this for you. So there will be spoilers because we are talking about predictions for the spin-off shows as well as the upcoming seasons.
Spoilers aplenty, and we will also be reviewing season 2, highlighting what we liked, what we thought may have worked better if they had done this, that, or the other. The usual. We are currently actually in the process of securing someone to be on this podcast who is actually employed by the Mandalorian and in charge of a lot of the designs of their set pieces, miniatures, and so forth. So we will keep you up to date throughout the week as to how that's going. But we're really looking forward to that. We have a lot actually going on as far as the Mandalorian is concerned and various other Star Wars universes. And for you folks out there, in case you don't know, this is a time, especially we're all fans, but I am expecting Kevin and Jarrett to flex extra hard on this episode, being their Star Wars fandom. You know, this is going to be just absolutely great. And with Mandalorian, you know, there's a lot of people out in the world that will say, "Hey, you haven't seen this, Darren? Check this out." Well, you know, I'm a really busy guy, so it's kind of hard to get into all these things. I am pretty glad I got to check this Mandalorian out, though. I had not seen a Star Wars series in a very long time, but definitely some really cool stuff. Very cool visuals, very great imagination with the universe and stuff, and I just can't wait to get into this, guys.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting, momentous occasion for us. I mean, it's like the skies parted and And so we're going to rock it out. Thank you for all of you who have just started joining us now, and those of us that will be joining us shortly and in the rewatch, watching this live, so to speak. We appreciate that.
I'm going to apologize ahead of time, too, and just say how nerdy I know personally I'm going to get on this. And
have no shame. No shame.
It's going to be nerd goo everywhere. I'm sorry.
Nerdtopia.
Because, you know, Kevin, Jarrett, Donald, you know, we're at an age that we were talking about all of our Star Wars fandom theories and stuff before the internet was even a thing. Okay, yeah. So like we have done this face to face with a lot of people. We've done this online with a lot of people. You know, we are kind of the generation that it's like we're either slightly past or right on point with the Star Wars world. I was introduced to Star Wars, you know, in the late 80s. as far as my consciousness goes with all this stuff. And it was still a big deal years after it had come out. It was still culturally a massive deal.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to offer that perspective you might not get from people that are neo Star Wars fans, which are cool. Like, if you're new to it, that's awesome. But, this is something that we've read, we've studied, we've lived it, people. We've lived it. So this is exciting to always talk about Star Wars.
Neo Star Wars fan. So, like, if the Matrix was like part of Star Wars, is that what we're going with?
I have an answer to that, and it is, I know Kung Fu. Whoa.
Whoa. Whoa.
Yeah.
Hey, so my mom's here, everybody. Say hi to my mom. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Donald's mom.
Hello, hello.
Enrique's here. He says, hey, guys. Hello, Enrique. Thanks for joining us. Anybody else that's here that wants to pop in and say hello in the chats, please feel free to do so. And in the meantime, I'll be... Which stormtrooper am I? I'm the Clone Wars stormtrooper?
One of the clone ones, yeah.
Yeah. You wanted the clone troopers.
That's what I thought. So I'm like one of just the very best ones.
Well, not many of them lasted very long.
No.
Overall.
What are you saying? You threatening me? You threatening me, Kevin?
I'm not threatening you. I'm just telling you the truth of what happened.
Pew, 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 pew.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened.
If you were me, you would have missed every one of those shots.
And no pressure, guys. Make sure to double check your work because Star Wars fans are very unforgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they are. Brutally unforgiving.
I'll just put this right.
I think just as much as Star Trek fans, they'll call you out on them.
Oh, yeah.
Which is why it's kind of amazing the success The Mandalorian has had because of how goddamn fickle the fans for Star Wars are. And I'm admittedly one of them. I was a guy that waited in line for days to see Phantom Menace and walked out with my soul torn out and, questioning what I was doing with my life and who I was. And
but you had to like Act 3 at least.
I liked, as far as the prequels go, I liked parts of each. Like if somebody could just edit those for me and put them in a cool little.
Someone did actually edit all 3 prequels. They took all the stuff that didn't work and they put all the good stuff.
Hey, Kevin. Adam Langhorn's on here, buddy.
Hey, how you doing?
He says hello. Hey, Adam, it's good to see you, man. I'm glad you finally popped in here to join us in this fun Star Wars celebration.
Yeah, and to add to what Jarrett had said, I did find it slightly amusing because the slight torture of Star Wars fans is a little amusing to me. For those who complained adamantly about episode 1, 2, and 3, I present to you episode 7, 8, and 9.
I know. If you thought it could get any worse.
I will say, if you think about it, Star Wars has had some truly great moments, but have they been as consistent as Star Trek?
Well, it's hard to say. Star Trek has had its ups and downs too, as we know, unfortunately.
But I'll tell you, as far as the original Star Trek series and the Next Generation, that's flawless television.
Well, yeah, they're classics.
Deep
Space Nine and.
It's true.
One of my favorite disses is as we were waiting in line for Phantom Menace, people would drive by and go, "Yeah, Star Trek, woo!" and just skip out.
Yeah, I would take Star Trek on the TV series, and no question.
Yeah,
of course, that makes sense.
Yeah, but it could be changing, and that's why you're all here. We're going to be discussing, breaking down The Mandalorian, talking theories, talking Season 2 highlights. Again, for those of you that are just tuning in, there will be spoilers. So if you have not seen Season 2, you might, I hate to say tune out, but you might want to at least just plug your ears for a little bit. Yeah.
We're talking predictions for, obviously because we're talking predictions for the upcoming season and the spin-off shows, we kind of have to spoil stuff. So,
right.
And at least Season 1's been around for a while. Season 2, if it hasn't been spoiled for you already, sorry for some of you.
Yeah, it won't be as bad as how I got it spoiled, believe you me.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, we have
Thomas, you son of a bitch. I'll call him out right on this. I don't care.
Please do.
I'll give him a
I
purple
didn't see
Nurple and a
episode yet.
goddamn
What guy did that?
Indian
Overall,
whatever.
what we definitely want to get across to the audience is spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. This
So,
Sunday, spoilers,
real quick,
spoilers.
before we get into the introductions, Adam does have a question. He said, "Is there too much fan service this season?" It's a
Yes
fair question to
and no.
ask.
I say yes and no. However, for what the fan base the true fan base has gone through the last few years, it's deserved. It had to be done.
Okay, what Kevin just said, right on the nose. Exactly. Like, the fan service that was given was the fan service we had been, like, at least the original trilogy fans have been clamoring for since we were kids.
Here's
Yep.
the thing.
Completely.
Was everybody like disappointed with the fact that at the end it was Luke and it wasn't Mace Windu? I mean, was I the only one that was disappointed? Was I the only one that wanted that?
I mean,
Well,
that'd be cool, but
when we get into it, I'll tell you my theories on who I thought were going to be there over Luke. I know Luke was up there, but I had
Got it. All right.
And to give you my 2 cents, Adam, fan service and filmmaking are two different things. I think The Mandalorian's going to have a very long run, and because of that, you can overdo the fan service in the beginning, but eventually you will have to reduce it.
Yeah, you can't stay alive on nostalgia alone, unfortunately.
right. Like I said, the TV show series Cobra Kai does it just right. Gives you enough of nostalgia and enough of some fresh stuff as well, fresh ideas as well.
It really is a perfect hybrid. It really, really, absolutely is. So let's talk about how we want to do this. Do we want to? Are we going to be discussing the season 2? I would imagine first, and kind of the breakdown of that, and then we're going to go into theories of the new shows and things like that as well. So let's do that right after we do a quick introduction here. I know Kevin is chomping at the bit for this. So let's get moving on that.
Are we posted?
We are, yeah, we are live.
Yeah, I've been posting for a while, yeah.
Yeah.
I shared already. We're good.
We are live. So, Kevin, who are we going to be introducing first here?
Darren.
Okay. All right, and I'm going to get right to it. In 5, 4, 3, 2.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Kaiser of Youngstown, Ohio is the Debonair of Monday Activity.
So, what we learned here is that the music is way too loud and you can barely hear Kevin. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the music for a second and then do the intro. So, we kind of heard about Darren, so let's move on into Jarrett here.
Oh, Jarrett next? Okay.
Yep. We'll go next with him. And I'll do the quick music intro, and then you can talk about it. Okay, there you go.
Cut the music!
He is the Marquis of Napa Valley. He is simply sweet white chocolate Jarrett.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, by the way, Chris Duque popped in, everybody, so we're having an ArcLight reunion.
Yes, sir. What's up, Chris? So
hey, Chris.
Chris got my link, so good stuff.
Good to see you. Always a pleasure to have you on. Julio's here, Kevin. He says you're a bi-weekly.
Of course I am. You're next, Donald. Let's hear your intro, buddy.
All right. Okay.
He is the defender, the CEO and chairman of the Real Short Box. He is simply the original Donald.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. And Adam, again, you're spot on, buddy. See if you can guess this last one, though, Adam. We'll see if you can get this one. If you can, You know your wrestling, sir. Here we go.
Everybody's got a price. Everybody's gonna pay.
and just like
And
that.
of course, I am the Grand Master of the Jedi and Vulcan Arts, your Supreme Chancellor, Dr. Kevin.
Yep. And Adam got it right away. $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. So well done, sir. You are
right.
part of the wrestling elite. We should have you on a wrestling podcast at some point.
Just got an email. We got sued. We're getting sued by WWE.
It's okay.
Well, you know, there's always a possibility that they could take this this live video down. That has happened before in the past, by the way. I've gotten stuff taken down just from little tidbits of music. Like that New Kid on the Block cartoon themes that we played.
Really? Someone cared about that much?
They flagged that shit so fast, and I was like, oh. Thankfully, they just wanted to be recognized, and they didn't want to take it down. They were like, just please say that it was us. And I was like, okay.
I don't blame them. You know, they need a little bit of attention. It's been like 30-something years.
Yeah, it's been a bit. It's definitely been
I don't know. Donnie's got a good career right now.
Yeah, that's true. He does.
Yeah, and his cousin.
Oh, yeah.
Cousin's got a really good career.
Yeah, I heard he just runs a hamburger restaurant.
Have you eaten there? Has anybody eaten at Whataburger? Or not Whataburger.
Wahlburgers.
Wait,
Wahlburgers.
Wahlburgers.
Yeah, Wahlburgers.
I have not. No.
Negative.
I have.
Really?
Yes. They have one, Darren. They have one in Ohio now. And or no, it's not in Ohio. It's in Pennsylvania.
Oh.
And it's not far from Pittsburgh. So we went so I could try it because I'd never tried it before. And you know all those like overpriced okay burger joints out here in LA? Just joins right along with it. It's nothing like amazing, but it's functional, it's good. But again, and I hate to say it, like In-N-Out for the price that you pay for the burger really is a good quality burger. Like and I'm not being paid by them, by the In-N-Out Corporation for their quality burgers that they put out at In-N-Out.
Sure about that? Is that why you moved into a new house over the holidays?
That's what a hamburger is all about, In-N-Out.
Wait a second, Donald. You moved into a new house, so how can you say you weren't paid by somebody?
So, shut up, Kevin.
I just go there for the Bible verses on the bottom of the cup.
That's right. That's right.
Is that Walter? Walter, is that you?
Yeah, I think it is.
Walter, holy shit, it is officially an ArcLight Cinemas reunion. Like, we've got Adam, we've got Chris, we've got Walter, holy shit. Chris Turner's on here now. Everybody's joining us. This is great. Julio's here. Says that's a tasty burger.
Chick-fil-A is better. Chick-fil-A is better.
Which one is?
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A, they don't have burgers, Kevin.
Chick-fil-A's burger is better.
They got a chicky.
Chick-fil-A does have some breakfast.
They got a chicky sandwich. Yeah, if Richard, Adam, if Richard could pop on, that would be great. Richard or hey, sometimes we get actually a lot of times we get Bonnie on here, so Bonnie's ArcLight.
I already sent the link to Bonnie, so hopefully she can pop in.
I'll text Marty. We can get him in.
That'd be great. Yeah. Just every time we have this, it's just all ArcLight people. And for those of you that don't know, ArcLight is a cinema in Los Angeles. Particularly, it started in Hollywood, California, with the Cinerama Dome, which is the first of its kind, with the introduction of stadium-style seating that you could reserve a seat. And the picture and sound quality and everything was supposed to be top-notch and stuff. We all worked there. We kind of ran it for a while, I would say, probably. But that's how a lot of us met, to be honest. That's how I met Kevin. That's how I met Darren. And kind of how I met Jarrett, because if it wasn't for meeting Marty, I would never have met Jarrett. And I met Marty at ArcLight. So, yeah, it's a big reunion here tonight.
The ArcLight, bringing family and friends together since sometime in the 2000s.
Well, you know, it's funny. Some people have met their wives and husbands working at the ArcLight together, as we know so well.
Mm-hmm.
Like David, if he pops in, David Denenberg, if he
Yep.
pops in.
Some of us had. Some of us caught some of the rest of us, others of us, in movie theaters doing things we shouldn't. I'm not.
So the Mandalorian, guys.
Speaking of the Mandalorian,
All right. So I guess I'll lead the kickoff here. So I guess we could go through. I don't have a lot of lowlights to discuss in season 2. Mostly highlights, which is good. The first episode, I'm just going to point out right away when I noticed Timothy Oliphant was playing the Marshal, which is a very similar character that he played in Justified.
Mm-hmm.
I was taken back to a memory, boys.
and Deadwood.
Yeah, I was taken back to a memory, boys, where I was in Santa Clarita, roughly around the year 2009. And they said, hey, Darren, could you please walk up to Timothy? He's going to hand you the sniper rifle that was taken at the scene. I said, yeah, man, let's do it. So go up to him. He hands me the rifle. The butt end of it hits me right in the balls.
Ouch. Ouch.
And
Ouch.
he delivers his line, and I'm just like, I'm just not going to do it, not going to break. And he's like, I'm sorry. Cut, man. I'm sorry, brother. Are you all right? So just seeing Timothy made me smile a little bit. It was an interesting episode. Substantively, I don't know how I felt about it overall, but like the big monster was cool. The big fight with the big monster was cool. And I think it really set a good precedent of the size of action scenes you were going to get for the entire season.
Yeah, very cinematic. But I do have one question, though. I wonder how they're going to answer this, if they ever will answer it. How in the world did he get his hands on Boba Fett's armor? And how did Boba Fett get out of that creature from Return of the Jedi?
The Sarlacc pit?
The Sarlacc pit. How did he get out of the Sarlacc pit with his armor intact? And then somehow he got separated from his armor for only to be taken for somebody else.
I think we kind of answered it right there with the Sarlacc pit. He was wearing the armor. And now we know the capabilities of that armor and how it's able to resist. That armor can resist acid. It can resist laser blasts. It can resist the strength of any beast, basically, that tries to crush his skull.
Lightsabers?
Especially the stomach acid.
Yeah.
Especially the stomach acids of a creature like that.
And the metal we're talking about is a Beskar, which is like been
adamantium. It's like adamantium.
It's like the adamantium of the Star Wars universe now. So.
And now David Denenberg has joined us. So
there we go.
What's up, Brad? Yeah, well, here's a serious question, though. All right, now obviously this timeline it's impossible to figure this all out. But the Sarlacc pit has a very slow digestive process, correct?
Yeah,
that's true.
So apparently the big monster ate the Sarlacc. So if the big monster ate the Sarlacc, presumably Boba Fett couldn't have still been in the Sarlacc, correct?
True.
Hey, Julio says he doesn't think that Boba's armor was Beskar.
That's quite possible because, well, now we're going to get nerdy. Okay, so the whole Mandalorian and the whole history of Mandalore and all that, which they went into great detail within the Clone Wars saga, the cartoon, and the Star Wars Rebels. They really dig deep into the tribal things of the Mandalorian and their planets and all that. The dark saber came from the show, from the cartoons. So they haven't officially. We know Boba Fett is the son of Jango Fett, who was a mercenary / bounty hunter, who they used as the template for the clones, which were prior to the stormtroopers, were clones that all basically were copies of Jango Fett. They mention in the show that Jango Fett got his armor from a Mandalorian, or he wasn't a Mandalorian, but he got there. That's still, I think they're going to answer those questions, and I know we're just going to jump the shark here, but in the book of Boba Fett, I think a lot of those questions about Jango Fett, his connection to the armor, how Boba Fett got it, obviously it was handed down, but Jango died when Boba Fett was still a little kid. So how did he end up getting the armor? Also, the armor in Jango Fett's armor was way different looking. It was, so I think they're going to go deep into that probably in season 3 of Mandalore and most likely in the book of Boba Fett.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, which those of you that did see the ending of the second season, spoilers again, there's going to be tons of spoilers. Stop now, spoilers. Um, those of us that did wait through the credits for the end of season 2 got treated to the intro to the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
That really did happen. So, like, and this is crazy. You know, think about this. There's guys older than us, right? We're all like basically. I'm going to age us, and I'm sorry. We're basically like 40-something-year-old men. So there's dudes that are like in their 50s and 60s right now that just had to clean their televisions after watching that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
legitimately, there was a massive amount of seminal fluid that just went everywhere because of the fact that Boba Fett is going to finally get his due. He's getting his own series basically, but he's going to be getting it also with another character from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., who surprisingly did a crossover. I had no idea that was going to be a thing.
No, well, it's not the same character, Donald.
Oh, okay.
Are you talking about Fennec?
Fennec Shand, played by Ming-Na Wen, who went on a Twitter like gushing thing of Mark Hamill, which was really sweet. I'm saying like, I can't believe I'm in a scene with Mark Hamill. I can't believe I'm in a Star Wars. You know, like it's cool to see people like who are get to like be part of their fandom, like integrate into a character.
It's a dream come true.
Truth be told, if it ends up not, you know, she's had a pretty good career up to this point, but if it ends up she wants to move on, she could definitely do those Maybelline skin commercials. She's 57, guys.
You're kidding? She's 57?
She's 57. Look, she played Linda in 2.5 Men, one of Charlie's many girlfriends, and she really I like her. She's a good actress. Quietly, she's a voice in Mulan, you know, from the 90s. Like, she's had a really good career, but yeah, she's 57.
That's unbelievable.
So,
well, let me just preface all this. The reason I love this show and what Filoni and Favreau have been doing with the Star Wars universe is what Donald was saying is like people. So you have the prequels that a lot of the older people got very excited for, and then we all know how that went.
Yeah.
Then you had Disney acquiring the Star Wars franchise, and there was this renewed vigor of like, okay, it's in new hands now. Some good stuff could happen. And the last trilogy came out, and there's a lot of mixed feelings on that. Mostly, I would say, on the negative.
Negative.
Yeah. So, what the Mandalorian has done, I know we had somebody talking about fan service, is what the old people and the people who like I grew up on. I have an older brother who's 4 years older, so I had Star Wars in my life, but I saw Jedi in the theater, and I saw it several times, and that movie was like, holy shit to me. And I lived in also Marin County, where Industrial Lights and Magic like was founded, and all those people would come into my parents' cafe, and I had kids on Halloween who had real Ewok costumes because their parents worked in the movies. So that was like just ingrained in my DNA there. So like, for instance, when I saw this scene behind me with Boba Fett, it's like you knew it was coming, but you didn't think it was real. And when it came, I was like, yeah, sad guy on the couch alone, just going while my kids were sleeping. Yeah.
You're happy.
So one thing I've picked up on this series quite a bit, just its general kind of story arc to really simplify its pitch. To me, it's basically the Equalizer in a galaxy far, far away. You'll have these situations where the Mandalorian, he has an overall adventure of where he needs to get Baby Yoda wherever he needs to get him to, but he picks up all these journeys along the way from quote-unquote regular people or the common person, if you will. And going into episode 2, it was very bizarre to me from a story point of view, but it ended up being somewhat redemptive because of the ice spider scene. But like, you've got the frog people, right? And this is where it kind of really establishes to
Salamander folk is what they prefer to be called.
Very good. But what it kind of does is it brings in this whole little thing that I was trying to figure out, and I'm starting to come to a bit of a conclusion here that Baby Yoda is kind of a dick in some ways. So like the fact that like they're carrying eggs to repopulate their race, and this idiot's just sitting here eating them after being told repeatedly not to do so, and eating it like, what? What's the big deal? I'm just eating these eggs. And when I'm just sitting here watching this, I'm like, my God, like, I mean, Baby Yoda, it's like, they did a lot of things right, but they did a lot of things wrong, too. And
right.
you've got to rectify that a little bit.
They didn't expect that backlash. They didn't.
I think they're showing that. I mean, I think it actually is obviously for comical purposes too. Like he's kind of he's a little shit. I mean, he tried to kill the Cara Dune character because he thought, they're showing. I think that he's still on the cusp of like he could go to the dark side. And we also still don't know his history. Some people are saying he is the child of Yoda and this other female.
Oh, Yaddle.
Who was in like 1 second of episode 2 or something.
The Phantom Menace, yeah.
Okay, episode 1. So they're saying that could be. I mean, that's a possibility, and also that would
pretty shocking. That'd be a violation of the Jedi codes if that did happen.
Did anybody see the picture of Baby Yoda as a Sith Lord, as basically Darth Maul?
As Darth Maul, yeah.
That's
awesome.
Great.
But Kevin, it's like. He goes and then eats the spider and then causes all this trouble. Is this poetic justice for you?
It is. It is. I mean, he started trouble and trouble came.
So basically, the premise of season 2 is him getting the child to a Jedi. Basically,
yeah, that was basically his idea. Because after the end of the first season, the Armorer told him that. The Armorer told him to go and find a Jedi to give him to, basically reunite him with his own people, so to speak.
So what we need to do here is sell this to someone like Walter, who's in the chat section right now, that has never seen it. What would we say to him? I know what I would say instantly, and I 100% agree. I believe it was Adam that said it, that it is basically a spaghetti western. Like
space western.
Sci-fi western.
It's like a more serious Firefly. Like it's really well done. The stories are really, really good. It's a fun adventure. There's this through thread that happens in each season, a through thread, and then basically there's all these little side adventures and that's why a Western style fits so perfectly, because we get these little side adventures that often happen in Westerns, because it's like, well, I needed to get my cattle over to the other ranch, but I ain't got enough horses, but Jimmy John over here said he'd loan me horses if I helped him rustle up these sheep here, and then these sheep herders that keep getting in there, and you know what I mean? It's like all this side story, but it's cool. Instead of like it being a Western like that, which sounds boring, it's like, oh, I need to go over here and destroy this giant monster, by flying into its mouth or some shit. You know what I mean? Like there's so many cool elements.
To make money. Plus, part of his mission, he has to make money in order to get to the next step. He's always running out of money.
Right. And also, aside from sci-fi Western, as we saw mainly in season 2, and then kind of the theme, it's also very samurai, old samurai movie influenced. Like, what is it? Something in Cub? Lone
Wolf and Cub, yeah.
Yeah. So it's totally doing that story. They even showed that some of the scenes verbatim in the episode where we get to see a live action Ahsoka, were like from like exactly from like old samurai movies, like shot for shot kind of thing.
Hey,
I mean, it's
real quick here. Brian just popped on, so everybody say hello to Brian.
Hello, Brian.
From Half's Hot Sauce, some of the best hot sauce, maybe even the best hot sauce I've ever had. So definitely check out Brian's hot sauce that he makes himself, which is phenomenal. It's just phenomenal stuff. Sammy's on here as well now. So hello, Sammy. Thanks for joining.
Hello. So also too, and for those of you who aren't privy with Equalizer, we'll just call it Kung Fu in a galaxy far, far away. I mean, Mandalorian is Kwai Chang Caine in many ways. The thing is, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. He comes off as very cold and very self-absorbed in the first episode. And I'm kind of surprised he's willing to help all these people, because some of them make perfect sense. There are things he needs occasionally from time to time, but other times I'm like, dude, you are getting the worst end of this deal, and I know you have to know it. He doesn't seem like a dumb guy, but I don't know what to say.
Like for example,
he's a man of honor.
Like you were just saying, Darren, with that episode with your buddy. he needed that armor. He needed the armor of Boba because he's like, you're going around. You're not a Mandalorian. I need this armor back. But then he's told that, yeah, I'll give you the armor if you help me defeat this giant sandworm thing. And it's like,
which
who would agree to that?
Which they touch upon too, that whole idea of like that there are different tribes and factions of Mandalore, of like the ones who will not remove their helmets, and the ones who we meet. Was it Bo-Katan, who we meet who actually, which was super cool about that, is that's a character that came from Rebels, and I think
Rebels, yeah,
yes,
Rebels, and was played by the actress who voiced her, which is pretty rare.
Katie Sackhoff.
Yeah. So, but those characters take their helmet off, and they're actually like of Mandalore, whereas he was what they call it, a foundling, where he was kind of adopted by the tribe. So it's like, it is interesting to see though, like, and I think they're obviously going to go into it more in probably season 3, because
the philosophies.
We don't have Grogu, who we found the name of, by the way, Grogu. Although everybody still wants to call him Baby Yoda. Even Jon Favreau said they still call him Baby Yoda. So they what I'm curious about, I'm asking you all too, and the audience, is, so season 3, we know that Grogu went with Luke because he's such a popular character. Do you think they're going to be kind of dividing the story between them and his Jedi training, and then the Mandalorians, whatever now with the dark saber and everything? Or
It's a good question.
I have a thought on that. For me personally, and I was talking to a Mandalorian expert on this as well that was not amongst the group here. I wanted to get an outside opinion. It seems like Baby Yoda and Luke would make way more sense in their own series and not into season 3, because Bo-Katan and the Mandalorian, to have this struggle for who is going to be the new leader of Mandalore is so much more appealing to me at this point.
Yeah.
I think you can bring Baby Yoda back maybe in like a season 4, but season 3, why not go full Game of Thrones style, and why not just have them constantly battling for who gets to run Mandalore?
Yeah. Well, they're definitely going that route. I mean, it's definitely, and I think also too, like if you watch the season, he loses his ship, which was like his badass ship. He loses his gun that can like eviscerate like anything.
Yeah.
So he does have the spear, though. He does have that spear.
He does have the spear, and now he has the dark saber. So I think they're gonna really play on that. He's got it now, and I think he's gonna use it. I don't think he's just gonna. He tried to give it back, and she couldn't take it because it has to be won in battle and all that. That can only go on so long. So they're gonna have to do something with that. So
also the armor. We have to see the armorer again. She was an interesting character from season 1. She may have a say in this too.
That's true.
And that was his whole tribe from season 1 killed?
Most of them, not all of them. Most of them.
We don't know which, really. So that's got to be. And there's also so many ways they can introduce new Mandalorian characters too. Like very easily, just say, "Oh, he's one of them that got away. I thought he was dead." So many ways to do that. We have a few chat questions here and comments that I think are interesting. Adam says that he thought it was. Anyone else find it interesting how they made the Tuscan Raiders gave them more humanity? One of the things I mentioned to him then was the fact that there is a Tuscan Raider that's a Jedi that happens to be in. I think he made his premiere in the comic books. So.
Yeah.
Which was Dark Horse at the time, had the rights. Now, guys, for those of you that don't know, a lot of Star Wars nuts delved deep into the novels, and then when the novels kind of dried up for a while, the comic books picked up where those left off, and they went buku into those. And Dark Horse had the rights from Lucasfilms for the longest time.
Yeah.
Years and years and years, probably 20 years or so, they had the rights to Star Wars franchise, and they kept cranking out these Star Wars stories. So there is, just Dark Horse alone, 25, 30 years of back history of characters to mine that you can go through and find for these stories.
Yeah, they're trying to expand the universe.
Right.
Yeah. Which a lot of comic book people are prospecting hardcore right now.
Crazy hardcore.
Now, Adam, just to jump in on your comment there, using the Tuscan Raiders in a more humane way, I think this just goes to an overall generalization of season 2, where you start to see it get tied more into the Star Wars universe. And what I mean by that is, if you remember in the original 3, you go into Mos Eisley, you see all these really cool kind of characters and stuff like that. Why just dispose of them forever when you can just bring them back, as opposed to just saying like, oh, those are Jawas, they are this. Why don't you actually include them? Why don't you actually include the Tuscan Raiders? This is something that makes me think that Favreau and Filoni are exactly who you need for this series.
Those two are just they're to me the saviors. I'm sure Kevin will agree with me, of the Star Wars universe right now. Like they are just
Jarrett, Kevin, Chris Turner's asking if that Tuscan Raider becomes a Sith, though. Like,
yeah.
That's what I thought. I wanted to be 100% before I gave my answer. But again, you can be a Sith and you can turn back to the Force from the dark side. We've seen it. I don't know if you've ever seen the original Star Wars trilogy, Chris, but that actually does happen.
It's rare, though.
It's rare, but it can definitely happen.
Also, I mean, like, what's really cool that Filoni is involved is he was the one who piloted the whole Clone Wars and then eventually Rebels. And now people who were actually really disappointed with the prequels loved the Clone Wars cartoon because they were able to go into way more characterization of like I said, Anakin Skywalker cartoon was a better actor than Hayden Christensen's Anakin Skywalker. No offense to the guy, but he had to play with what was written. Yeah. But then you go to Rebels, which to me is like, I don't know, it's a really good show. What the cool thing is that Filoni is making those shows canon and incorporating those characters into the live action, like we saw Ahsoka, who's going to be a spin-off show. And shit, it just hit me. Ahsoka could definitely be involved with the Luke Skywalker Yoda stuff since she's a Jedi as well. Although she's a fallen Jedi as far as she left the Jedi Order. She's not technically a Jedi anymore.
Well, her and Luke have to meet because she could connect him to Anakin. Like, hey, this is what Anakin was like before he turned to the dark side.
And he's like, yeah, I know. He's my dad.
Now, Kevin, I have a question for you because this is something that's been racking my brain a little bit. The character, man, he plays Gustavo on Breaking Bad, and his name's escaping me at the moment.
Gus.
Carlo Esposito?
Yes.
Carlo Esposito?
Yeah, his character. Obviously, he lived. What do you think his role would be in season 3?
There's a couple ways they can go about this. They'll probably bring him to trial. They'll probably try to get information out of him. That's why Gina Carano's character, Cara Dune, wanted him alive because he has so much a wealth of information on these Empire remnants. So we're probably going to learn more about his past. I have a funny feeling that he wasn't always this evil person. He probably had
totally humanize him. That's like,
yeah. They're going to humanize him. I'm going to find out maybe he had a family tragedy, and that's why he decided to join the Empire. And who knows? Maybe he'll become like Mayfield. Maybe all of a sudden he'll become an ally,
which
or maybe not.
On Kevin is what they also are humanizing the Empire. They have that. They had that one episode. The second to the last episode of season 2 with the Bill Burr character.
Yep, Mayfield. Yep.
Mayfield, who kind of said Empire, New Republic, there's no difference for the people in the middle, it's just like they're still living their lives and you guys are just battling and killing, So it was really cool to show the perspective of that and his scene with his his
superior officer
was so, I watched that episode at first and I went, oh, this is the one you're going to do second to last with Bill Burr's character being the highlight, but he killed it and it was just a really solid character piece in that one.
Yeah, he was phenomenal. By the way, for Carlos Esposito, Giancarlo, yes, thank you. If you haven't been paying attention, I'm thinking he's going to be the next Darth Vader.
Oh, yeah.
Not just pretending to be. I think he wants to be Vader. And I think that he's slowly progressing to that.
We definitely had he had the armor that kind of looked
Yeah,
like
the armor.
There you go. That's the big hint right there, is that he has that piece right there.
Yeah.
He's working on something. There's something coming with this character, and I think that's where it's leading. I'll be very surprised if that doesn't happen. But I think I think he's going to put on the outfit, and I think he's going to become Vader, and then I think we're going to have a Vader series where we're going to be doing like the whole Vader down run that existed in Marvel Comics. By the way, those of you that are huge Star Wars fans, if you have not read the Vader down run in Marvel Comics, it is phenomenal. It is so well done. It's such a good story. I don't want to spoil it. I just Vader by himself in Rebel territory. Let's just leave it at that. It's great.
You also have to find out what they did with Grogu's blood. Obviously, they're experimenting on him and whatnot. So what's the purpose of those experiments?
My theory was that was how they brought back Palpatine. They were using his blood. Because don't they show kind of what look like this?
Sammy just said that. Same thing. She said they wanted Grogu's blood for Palpatine. They did
have a scientist from Camino. Those cloning Camino... I think he had wore that symbol, like one of those scientists. They did have like the symbol from that planet Camino where they cloned those troopers from the prequels. So there could be a connection there too.
Adam, I don't think they're gonna talk about Snoke at all, because I feel like the reason why they're tweaking things the way they're doing is because they're trying to make you forget that these last 3 movies actually.
Oh, no, they're retconning them. They're basically retconning them.
Yeah. I think that's what's going to take place. You're going to find that that's not.
They show what looked like a Snoke / Palpatine in like a fish tank for a second, and he says, "I just needed his blood." So I'm guessing that was all how they brought back Palpatine with power and cloned his body and gave him Jedi midichlorians, all that shit. But the one thing I'm curious, or the theory thing that I wanted to talk about, because I do think they can bring these characters in still and will, because of Filoni's involvement, is so a lot of people had theories before when we all knew a Jedi was coming. Before it was revealed that it was Luke, the theories were some people did say a Mace Windu would come back. That was a theory, actually, that Mace Windu might have survived, because you just see him fly out, you don't see the body.
Please. Yeah. If Princess Leia can fly Mary Poppins style through space, I think Mace can survive.
Oh, totally. Ezra Bridger from Rebels was a definite one, because they totally now real quick. So at the end, I don't want to spoil Rebels for you, Donald, but basically they mention heavy duty characters from Rebels, and that the fact that Ahsoka's in it, it's like there's a guy named Ezra Bridger who pretty much could have become a Jedi. Another real random one, which I thought would have been cool, was they did a video game that connects in canon to the series called Jedi Fallen Order, which is really good, and it's about this Jedi named Cal Kestis, who, as a Padawan, escaped the Order 66 when they ordered to kill all the Jedi, and he was hiding out on this junk planet for years until he became older, and he ends up getting thrown into the battle, again, and having to become a Jedi and all that stuff. And he basically, at the end of the game, it's like he is possibly going to go help young Jedis. So that's a character who also was motion captioned by an actor who works a lot too. I forget his name. He's in he played the Joker in Gotham, in the Gotham TV show, the young kid.
Oh, yeah, from Shameless.
Yeah, and from Shameless.
Yeah.
He played Cal Kestis in this. So they already have a built-in actor to play another Jedi role that's existent in that Mandalorian era. So
Cameron Monaghan?
Yeah.
Thanks, Adam.
Yeah.
Our audience, by the way, kudos to our audience. They are on it tonight. They are on it. They know their Star Wars. This is great. Chris says it's fantastic. The game, by the way, Chris says it's fantastic. I'm sorry.
I just played it the second time. Yeah.
Sammy says, they should show us Hera and Sabine. Julio says that they did mention midichlorians. They called it M count, and it was during the video message when they raided the lab.
Yeah. Oh no, they're still canon. Midichlorians are yeah. Thanks.
George Lucas' sequel trilogy was supposed to have been a little bit more about the midichlorians.
I'm sure it would have been just as great as the Clone Wars.
Not to jump around too much here, but it's kind of all leading to this. I wanted to talk a little bit about this Ahsoka spinoff.
Ahsoka.
So, Ahsoka, yes.
I prefer Ahsoka.
Ahsoka?
Sometimes when my feet get cold, I put on two.
So something that I kind of expect out of this, I wrote some notes down on this. Something I kind of expect here, I expect the show's going to feature a lot more Clone Wars characters, and it very well may, like you guys said, it may erase the entire sequel trilogy timeline, episodes 7, 8, and 9. And you're going to see a lot of what I feel they're going to do a lot of time travel, or at least
the world beyond worlds. I think that's what it's called, Jared.
Yeah, the world beyond worlds. It's a vortex. Basically for all of you out there, it's a vortex in the Force where you can jump from different points from time to time. And the logo on the show, they actually, if you look at the show logos and posters and stuff, you can already see the world between worlds vortex in the pictures. So I kind of expect this is where this is going to go. I think it's interesting, though, being that she's a character that had maybe 15 minutes of screen time in one episode, that they're going to go off on this altogether. But I've been told by very reliable people, she is an extremely popular character.
Yeah.
From previous thing, and to kind of come from Clone Wars and get her own kind of arc like this is not that surprising.
No. Well, she came from Clone Wars, and then they brought her back in Rebels, which takes place like a little further in the timeline.
Yeah.
And she was a fan favorite for sure, and I think a lot of people were crossing their fingers of how she would be portrayed live action.
Right.
And to me, they nailed it. They made her so badass.
Rosario Dawson was excellent casting for this role. Excellent casting.
She looks the part.
Yeah, she looks the part. She looks amazing. She's an amazing talent. She's inadvertently a friend of the podcast. She doesn't know it yet, but she is.
That's true.
And that's through I believe blood of some sort.
Yeah, we're two. What's the name of Kevin Bacon? The 6 degrees of separation.
Yep.
We're 2 degrees of separation from her.
Yep.
So here's the thing, though, with the Ahsoka show. So we do know that she's, and by the way, so we have, as far as the spinoffs go, we have Mandalorian season 3, and then the spinoffs are Ahsoka, was it Rangers of the New
Republic,
which is probably going to be the whole Cara Dune and Grief Gargan, the Carl Weathers character, and then we have Book of Boba Fett, which is obviously Boba Fett. So then they're all supposed to culminate in like an epic kind of finale for that, for those shows where they're all going to be kind of, after some kind of big thing. And everybody is talking about this Admiral Thrawn, who is a villain in
Heir to the Empire.
Yeah.
And also from the books.
And from the books, yeah. And character's fucking great. And I can't wait to see him on live action. My question is, though, so if you know your Star Wars with the Ahsoka Tano and all that, and this is where another question of why they probably might retcon or do some kind of time warp, time hopping shit, is because at the end of Skywalker, Rise of Skywalker, you hear all the voices of the Jedi coaching Rey, and they're all the ones that have passed. You hear Anakin, you hear Yoda, and then you hear Ahsoka. Ahsoka's voice is in there, from not Rosario Dawson because she hasn't cast yet, but as the original voice from the show. So, which would mean that she had passed, or they're going to try and come up with a way of keeping this character alive, a la Boba Fett.
Apparently, they said Ahsoka was still alive during Rise of Skywalker. She wasn't dead, which is interesting. So I guess her voice was just there.
The Force ether.
The Force ether, yeah.
Well, I'm kind of glad you mentioned, not to jump too far, but I'm glad you mentioned the Boba Fett spinoff. That's going to be really interesting to me because I foresee this having this really heavy crime vibe to it, like the underworld crime, of a galaxy far, far away. And I think it's going to be fun to see the parallels of how you can compare crime that happens in other worlds and universes to the crime that happens in the world that you live in now. I think it's a really kind of bold, interesting thing, and it's really going to expand that Star Wars universe a lot. Because I feel like the whole idea of all the characters they create, all the worlds they create, I feel like they don't spend enough time really getting into those. And Book of Boba Fett, I think, is really going to, really hammer that down. And I'm kind of looking forward to that one more so than the Ahsoka show even, or even the Luke Vader thing, or the Luke Baby Yoda spinoff that I'm hearing rumors might be happening as well. So yeah, that looks great, and especially like you guys said at the end of episode 8,
Right.
That credit end scene. Ha! Bring it on.
They can't
we
do.
might see more of the Hutts.
They can't do a Luke spinoff without Sebastian Stan. Am I correct? I mean, that's like
what people are clamoring.
that's
for.
like it, and he's so knee deep in like the Winter Soldier and the Falcon series that I don't know if he's going to get out of that. Like, I don't know.
I don't know. That's. I mean, especially since they already kind of seem to have committed to the CGI kind of. I don't know what you would call that now. We have the stand-in actor do the face.
You know how hard that is to do in action scenes, though. Like they're not going to be able to. They're going to have somebody that looks very, very, very similar to him for those scenes, and then for like the straight-on shots, they can do that. But otherwise, that's a lot of work to invest to keep that character around when they could have just simply introduced one of these amazing characters that's already been in the comics and in the novels and stuff that we have yet to be introduced to. And like the Mandalorian, Mando, like no one gave a shit. Like, you know, no one knew who this character was and no one gave a shit. They made you love that character.
Yeah,
and that's what good storytelling does, and that's what they need. I think they're falling, and I hope that this doesn't continue. They're falling too heavily upon the past, and like just almost, it's like right there. It's like on the tipping line, and if they keep doing that, I feel like it's going to get boring in a way.
Well,
we need to.
It's also a balancing act of timelines.
Yeah,
if you're looking at. So yeah, this is after Return of the Jedi. So, and before the other trilogy. So where, you know, God, as much as I don't want him to throw away 3 whole films, I'm kind of like, if you're going to do something better to a future that's going to be more interesting, then just go with it. Like, pull the Star Trek alternate universe thing and just do it.
Okay, so I had an idea. What if in the introduction of the series of Luke and little baby Yoda, what if he gets hit with some type of device that ages him?
What?
Done.
Come on.
Done, right? And then we have Mark Hamill up to the point where he is now, and he's just using the Force to keep himself young after he's been aged.
So I mean, just
you're welcome.
Out of pure practicality, like these shows can shoot a lot faster than you think. They basically have an entire wing of a studio down here in Southern California that is shooting Mandalorian, and I know that they can definitely. I mean, you could literally go from one stage that is Mandalorian to the next stage that is Book of Boba Fett, and they can just crank these out pretty quickly. I mean, I feel like the difficulty from people that I know who've worked on it, a lot of that has been worked out in season 1. Season 1 took forever and a day to film because of all the heavy amounts of green screen and the heavy amounts of CGI that were used. And obviously, like, especially in the second half of season 2, they totally outdid themselves, hiring major directors like Robert Rodriguez and Peyton Reed and people that are used to these massive scale type of stuff. So I really think that, despite the fact we all know Disney generally has a 5 to a 10-year plan with a lot of these things, they're going to crank them out pretty fast, in my view, just because obviously you will have COVID delays and stuff. They have kind of figured out the process on that as well. But like when that thing's actually rolling and the pandemic's really not an issue, they're going to shoot this stuff really fast. So I don't know. I feel like you're going to get oversaturated with it in many respects. So Star Wars fans, you're going to kind of love it or you're going to get sick of it. I don't know which yet.
Yep, time will tell.
I mean, time will tell. There's always going to be overkill. I mean, every amazing thing usually has, you know,
or two.
It's knowing when to end something, which is always hard, you know?
Yeah, you don't want to overstay your welcome. You see,
that's tough. Like Breaking Bad.
I was going to say, Breaking Bad. I heard about Breaking Bad. They were smart enough to know when to leave.
The Sopranos.
Kevin, as big of a fan as you are of Cobra Kai and of Mandalorian and stuff, I feel like Breaking Bad should be something you watch. Like,
I'm going to get to it because I heard so many good things about it. I heard it's only 5 seasons, but it's a very concise, very tightly woven story.
Frisky Gringo, hey friends, not caught up on the show, so just dropping a like and a comment for support. Uncle Caleb loves you. Thanks, Caleb. We appreciate that, buddy. We won't mention any spoilers right this second. We'll give you like a minute to peace out on that. Chris says some interesting side characters in we're talking about the game right now, Caleb. The video game. Some interesting side characters, great Star Wars worlds, and it's always fun playing a Jedi. That's why he loved that game, Jarrett, that you were mentioning earlier.
Well, I'm going to do a sequel to the game, and like I said, they have built-in audio. And another group that I want to see that they introduced in Rebels, and they fit heavily into that video game, are this group called the Inquisitors. And they're Jedi that got turned. They're not Sith so much, although they work like with for Vader and all that.
Is that the Greys that Adam was mentioning earlier?
The who?
The Greys. He said there was gray Jedis.
These ones are evil. Like they work for the Empire.
They work for the Empire.
Okay.
And they know the Force, and they're basically just Jedis that got turned, and now they work for like the Empire, and they hunt down the remaining Jedi that are alive and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's
They've got these badass double-bladed lightsabers that spin and and they're just evil and they look badass. Like,
hey, Jared,
that's awesome.
What happened to the Sentinels? Those were cool characters that would be at the Jedi Temple. What happened to those guys?
Wait, like the guys that like in the all white?
Yeah, they had like the yellow lightsabers. They'd be at the temple. Like, what happened to them after Order 66?
If you watch Rebels, one of them becomes an Inquisitor. He becomes like the head Inquisitor. Like
spoilers.
Yeah. Well, you'll see.
I'm not listening. David says, does the Obi-Wan show tie into the Mandalorian, do you think? Thoughts on that?
The Obi-Wan show is no, because the Obi-Wan show is 10 years after Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
So, no.
Right. It would have to be.
But I'm excited for that. I'm strangely excited for Hayden Christensen to come back as Darth Vader.
Because he's probably get a better script. Scripts to work with.
It wasn't his fault. Let's be honest. It wasn't his fault.
Yeah, better scripts to work with.
If you look at how he was acting exactly like, like he was supposed to. That's exactly what he was told to do. It's not his fault. I'm not saying he's an amazing actor or anything, but
it kind of is. And I guess my defense for that would be, if you go back and watch the original 3 Star Wars, just listen to the lines that Han Solo has. They're not great, but they're delivered expertly.
You're 100% right. Yeah, you're 100%.
So, that's just my view on it in general.
Well,
I've seen Hayden in other stuff. He's not bad. I agree, Don. He's not a bad actor.
And we're also...
something wasn't vibing with him on that one.
We're also talking about, like, the original 3 versus the later 3 in that I think Lucas had so much more control over the later 3 because there was this clout of authority and of success with his name. Yeah, Kevin, exactly. So people took everything he said to heart. I don't see Harrison Ford as a guy that listens all that much. Like, I think that like his deliveries and stuff is exactly how he wanted to do it. And that's a big difference between somebody like him who was basically a space cowboy and someone like Hayden who's more of a yes man, it would seem, possibly, or just young and inexperienced and wanting to learn and excited to be a part of something. The same way the other kid that played the younger version of
Jake Lloyd.
Yeah, Jake Lloyd. Poor son of a bitch.
Oh my God. Yeah.
No, I feel really bad for Jake because, he
had a rough time.
You cannot have, this is just, sorry to get on my soapbox here, but you cannot verbally abuse an 8-year-old boy the way the fans did.
Right.
Was, like, kind of
uncalled for.
And honestly, like, Jake, from everything I've read and seen, it has affected him in a very bad way up into his older years, which is extraordinarily unfortunate.
Same with the Jar Jar guy. I think Jar Jar is one of the worst characters ever created.
Oh yeah, Ahmed Best.
but that's not the actor's fault. Like, that's not his fault. And that guy was like contemplating suicide. He was getting so much stuff.
Yeah, Ahmed Best. Yeah, poor guy.
Uh-oh. Guys, Evan Aldrich has just appeared in the chat.
Here.
That's the Evan air horn. We just created it, Evan. Woohoo, you're here.
Yeah. No, the Obi-Wan show is going to be interesting. Talk about delays on that show. That show got, I think whoever was producing it said like they had to have a whole rewrite of scripts.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's not good.
I mean,
it's like Boba Fett. Boba Fett was supposed to have been a movie originally.
Right.
But to be fair, Jared, I'm kind of okay with that because apparently there were no rewrites on The Last Jedi.
Yeah, that was the first draft. Yeah, that was the first draft they went with.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I would agree with you. Look, if they're delaying the release of it, yeah, that's usually problematic. I don't know if you remember this film with Jack Black and Ben Stiller. It was called Envy. It had a whole year delay, and when you actually watch the final product, you're like, wow, this sucks. So like sometimes that's not a good thing. But I don't know. In this situation, this is just a hunch. Don't do what you did with Last Jedi. The one draft script was a disaster. So let's do the rewrites if it's for good reason.
And maybe they saw what was happening with the Mandalorian set and was like, oh, yeah, we got to step up our game or something.
Right,
like that.
right. So season 2, just to quickly recap, season 2 of The Mandalorian furthered the story of Grogu and kind of closed that chapter in a way. It also introduced us to new characters that are exciting and can be possibly spun off into other series. It brought back the beloved Boba Fett, which everybody's been clamoring about. It showed us Luke Skywalker at the end. It's something that I think is, in pop culture and in nerd fandom, probably the most important thing that's come out since the onslaught of superhero films being successful from the first original Darren Minnell production Iron Man from Marvel Comics. So I feel like that's a good thing that The Mandalorian Season 2 has done to bring about all these things. Now moving forward, we have more series and more movies, and let's name them again so people know. Jarrett, Kevin?
We got Ahsoka. Go on.
There's one called The Acolyte.
That's right.
And that's supposed to take place during the final days of the High Republic era.
And we know very little of that, correct?
Yeah, we know very little of it.
So that one could go or it could stay. It's on the list. And in fact, speaking of the list, I'm going to bring up, I haven't posted any of these pictures, so I'm going to bring up a couple of these pictures as we talk. So just keep going, gentlemen.
There's the Rogue One, what's his name? Andor. It's going to be kind of about his story before Rogue One.
Lando.
Are they doing a Lando? Is that for sure?
Well, it's in development, early development.
And then there's the Patty Jenkins one is going to be a movie though, right? About the squadron.
That's Rogue Squadron, yes.
Right. And they haven't really said when that is. We know
supposed to be coming out? I think it's scheduled for Christmas of 2023.
But do we know timeline in the series where that is supposed to be, or?
Yeah. I have no idea. I know there was a video game called Rogue Squadron. I remember that.
Right.
Only known as Rogue.
One show we have, the
Chris Turner.
Rangers of the Republic, which we don't really know much about, but people are hypothesizing that that's going to be the Gina Carano, Cara Dune, probably Carl Weathers spinoff. I was reading today too. The Carl Weathers character was actually not supposed to be in it as much, but they just liked writing him so much. And what is it? Jon Favreau met him at the DGA because I guess Carl Weathers has been directing stuff.
Yep.
He said, I'd like you to come on. He said, if I come on, can I direct one of the episodes? And he's like, sure. And then I think season 2, he directed one of the episodes.
Yes, he did. He directed which episode? I'll tell you in 1 second.
And then I also want to give a shout out to, Taika Waititi. In season 1,
IG-11.
I will, even though his stay was brief, I will nominate that guy as one of the coolest droids ever created.
Reed.
Him and
Quill.
the character Quill. Keel, am I saying that right? Keel. I miss those characters. Those are great characters from season 1 that unfortunately paid the price. So Nick Nolte, shout out to Nick Nolte for his character.
Yeah.
Or at least the voice he played of that character.
Oh, he was great. Yeah.
So, real quick, Chris says yes to Lando. Chris, the Lando, if they do the story from the comic book, Chris, I know how you recommended a comic to me recently. I'm going to recommend this one to you. It's called Lando, and it's a 4 or 5 part miniseries from Marvel. It came out about 8 years ago, something like that. It is fantastic. It's basically Lando takes a contract from somebody to rob some items, to procure some items off of a ship, not knowing that it's basically an in disguise Emperor Star Cruiser from the Empire, and it's I think it was the Emperor's personal ship, it was his personal ship that he just happened to not be on, and it was transporting some very, very special items, and it puts then Lando in a very precarious position. And Lobot, I believe, is Lobot Lando's sidekick kind of friend. We get to know the story of him and how he became the way he is, because in the comic he's a much different person, and it's very fascinating, and it's really freaking cool. Julio, you had to have read this, so I'm sure Julio would agree if he's read that it is just a fantastic series. And it was the first one that came out, Julio. It wasn't the second one where they made it look more like Donald Glover. It was the one before that, where it was the original that we all know and love so much.
And Jarrett, something you brought up that I think it needs to be said, because we mostly do comic books on here. You brought up Patty Jenkins being hired to direct. We are prognosticating on this. We don't prognosticate on every single one of our episodes. But after Wonder Woman 84, is there deserved skepticism of Patty Jenkins?
Well, I mean, I haven't seen Wonder Woman 84 yet, so I can't talk on it. But God damn, the reviews I've heard from my friends have been really, really bad. I mean, just really bad, especially for another movie that's had plenty of time to maybe fix things that might have needed to be fixed.
Plenty of time. It's like if the Snyder Cut, when it comes out, if it just got awful, it's like you shouldn't be allowed to work in Hollywood anymore, Zach. I'm sorry.
Or the last James Bond movie, No Time to Die. Same thing.
Right.
Yeah, they've had all this time to fix and tweak, and you could see it as a blessing, but they're not doing it because they don't want to spend any more money, because they weren't making money, and they're not making enough money. So that's therein the problem. They've created these huge blockbusters without the fandom that to be instilled to create that base, to put that money back in. So they can't, without that flow coming back in, they can't work on it or tweak it or anything. They're afraid to, and it's a shame, because you could get some really quality, really terrific product if they just fixed a few things here and there. And I think Wonder Woman 84 could have been a much better film had they actually done that. But unfortunately, they went a route with the story where, I'm sorry, but Jeff Johns should know better as a writer, and I know that he's credited in there as a writer on that. Him and Patty. It's shameful that they went the route they went, because it's just not good. I don't blame the direction of the film, so I don't think the directing was off there, but I think if they're smart after Disney seeing that, they should go, okay, Patty, yes, you definitely can direct, but we're going to have a few writers in here that we think we really want you to, you know what I mean? They need to gently stroke her ego, but kind of set her off to the side a little bit. Right. Yeah. In that writing realm, and let her take the helm in the directing and really go with that and not worry so much about the script. That I think would be better.
Donald, I'm glad you brought up that Snyder Cut of Justice League. Just a quick remark. This is literally the cut that nobody asked for. Seriously, who in the world wants to see the Snyder Cut of Justice League at this point? I'm pretty sure it just is what it is. I don't hate it. I know it's completely inaccurate in many ways. It's completely boring. Steppenwolf is just a pure sadist. He has no other motivations. I get all that stuff. But I don't feel like I need another hour and a half of this. What is there to be confused about? Like, seriously, help me out here.
I don't think Zach would be a bad Star Wars director, to be honest. I think, him in that universe would work out really well. I think the problem lies in the fact that they let him start to write his own narrative. In fact, though, he's coming out with another zombie film, which I'm very excited to see. So we'll see where he goes with that and where his career leads him after this. But I think like Julio was saying, I don't think he's coming back after this. And also, Maria popped in and she says, sometimes the reason movies suck is because of lame studio notes. And she's 100% correct.
Yep.
Darren,
Yep.
Kevin, Jerry,
Yep,
we all know this.
Too many cooks in the kitchen.
And particularly, I think probably one of the worst culprits is Warner Brothers Studios. They interfere on a level that I have not seen with any other studio, and maybe they're not as good at hiding it as other studios are, but they're very good at being invested in these films and changing things that might not need changing. And I'm not saying it's necessarily an ultimate evil, because when stuff comes out great from them, we think, oh wow, this is great, and it might have had more hands on with them. We don't know, but yeah, I think studio interference can have a big part in that. Absolutely.
And that's why we like the Mandalorian. Wait, what? No. But I do want to give the ultimate shout out to Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni for what they've done. And specifically, Favreau, I don't know, as an artist, that guy blows my mind. Like the breadth of his career and what he's done. Like the fact that I love like indie films he's done, like Swingers and Chef to a certain extent. And then the fact that this guy has, saved to me the Star Wars franchise, in my opinion. And then written, did he write every episode?
I don't know if he did.
He wrote enough.
I mean, obviously it's all his, direction, but I mean, like, as far as the narrative, but like, it's just insane what comes out of that dude. Like, he's got the nerd and he's got the cool and he's got I don't know. It's, I'm in awe.
He's come a long way. He's come a long way.
And he was in Rudy.
And he was in Rudy. And PCU. PCU.
PCU.
Yeah,
Will you blow me where the Pampers are?
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, whoa. Are you wearing the shirt of the band you're going to see? Don't be that guy, Gutter. Don't be that.
I've used that on my brother because we were going to go see a Lollapalooza back in the day. And he's like, hey, can I borrow your Smashing Pumpkins shirt? And I was like, don't be the guy that wears the band shirt to the band.
Right. I saw a guy do that with Spawn once, like with the movie that came out. He wore his Spawn shirt. And you know how hard it is to get Spawn shirts back then, but he had one, and he was so proud, and I was just laughing at him so hard. I feel bad now as an adult. I'm sorry, dude, but the Spawn shirt, I'm sure you were a huge fan, and I just didn't acknowledge that. You might even be Todd McFarlane's personal assistant at this point. I don't know, but rock on, dude, with the Spawn shirt. Rock on. Go ahead.
Just remember, Donald, the guy who wore the Spawn shirt is the same guy that dresses up for the midnight showing of Star Wars, who's also the same guy that wears a wizard's robe for the midnight showing of Harry Potter. It is also the same guy who wears a black trench coat for the midnight showing of The Matrix. It's all the same guy.
Yep, that's true.
Okay.
And then dresses up for Halloween as a Highlander.
That was a great... No, that was maybe a D+ costume on my end.
Yes, Darren did do that.
Yeah, it's kind of D+ though. At least I could sound like Connor McLeod.
Yeah, no, you did well. You did fine, Darren. It's better than Kevin wore the same mask for 5 years straight. And
that's actually kind of cool.
Now everybody knew who he was though, and then he was trying to sneak around and be like, "I'm not Kevin," and you're like, "Hey, Kevin, what are you doing?" And he's like, "No Kevin here." But anyway, I think with that, David, no, we're not talking about Pete Mendoza. But he didn't pop on today, which is surprising. He might, maybe next week. And speaking of next week, now that we have your attention with all the Star Wars fun, we are going to continue our live podcast. All this month will be Star Wars live podcast fun. So it's going to be a really good time. Next week, as Darren had mentioned, we have a very special surprise, possibly, if it works out, so fingers crossed. If not, we're going to have another very special surprise that will be very last minute, but also very special, though. Yeah. So please tune in for next week. Also, subscribe to us on YouTube. Please subscribe. It's very important that we keep our subscribers up and active on our YouTube channel so we can be seen by more people, because they do certain things with YouTube to where they don't show your videos in certain places based upon your popularity on the page. So please subscribe if you can.
Sure.
Also, we are on a few audio podcast providers, and I can't seem to think of any but Apple at the moment. Anybody else here?
Are we on Spotify and Stitcher and Spreaker, iHeartRadio, iTunes, right?
We're on iTunes, yeah. Anywhere you can find a podcast, we're there. And if we're not, demand it. We'll get there. We'll be there for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Please feel free and reach out to us. Reach out to us on Instagram, Facebook. You can email us. You can reach out to us on YouTube. Message us. We want to hear from you. We want to know if we need to fix anything, tweak something, add something, whatever you feel needs to be done. We'll do it. I mean, you want us to whack a guy, you want us to whack off a guy, whatever. We'll do it. Whatever. That's a Family Guy reference.
Scenarios all of a sudden? Wow.
That's a Family Guy reference for those like Kevin that do not know.
I'm going to whack a guy, whack off a guy. What do you want me to do, huh?
Right. But yeah, we're going to have some really fun stuff coming up, and next week's going to be really cool because if it works out, we're going to have somebody that actually has worked in the field, literally, when it comes to The Mandalorian. So this is really big for us. So we're working hard on acquiring that.
Doing it, but yeah, Nick. I mean, no, never mind.
It ends up we just get Nicolas Cage for no reason, and he's like just talking about The Mandalorian. And he doesn't know that it's Star Wars.
Well, I tweeted at Gina Carano, and I'm still going to hold my cross my fingers on that one.
Oh shoot! Speaking of black trench coats, Adam says the time that Pete Mendoza walked up to Orlando Bloom and scared him because he was wearing a black trench coat, and Orlando Bloom thought he might have a gun, but he was just asking for an autograph.
Whoa,
that's crazy. So I think Pete wins the trench coat story, so that's good. Maria says, nice pod tonight. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you.
David Denenberg says, what are the themes to these other Star Wars shows? Well, we can't talk about next week, David. And next week hinges upon the following week, because if next week works out, the following week will be the other podcast. But if next week doesn't work out, you won't know that it didn't work out because we'll have somebody from that last podcast in on this podcast coming up, and it'll all be great no matter what. So,
in other words, we'll let you know. Keep your eye on us.
Right. We'll keep you posted. So thanks everybody for tuning in. You all have a lovely evening. If we don't see you out and about anytime soon, we will hopefully see you someplace.
At the sweet, luscious, charitable, safe comic book
shop.
Good night, everybody. Enjoy the outro.
Good night. Stay safe out there.
Pew pew, this is the way. Pew pew pew.